Hello and welcome to PMC English. This is Aishi Farasi and welcome to yet another episode of Unplugged with Masters. Well, in this episode of Unplugged with Masters, I am at Sparsh Hospice.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
I know many of you don't know about Sparsh Hospice. So today I am here just to show you how Sparsh Hospice works.
I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so
Well,
instinctive and
Sparsh
so
Hospice
passionate.
is
Every
a
word I
center
move
for
so
palliative
descriptive like an
care
adjective.
for
I got a
terminally ill
vendetta
cancer
against people
patients
who
for
patent
whom
it. Being
treatment
negative when you
acute
should
is
be
no
getting
longer
after it.
effective. So they seek
got
to
facts
elevate
over facts
pain
over
without
tracks, this and
curing
that,
and
spitting slow,
offer
spitting
everyone
fast, like a
a
roach,
personal,
like a gas,
warm
think
and
I'm
a
okay
dignified
last, but I
response.
don't know
Well,
if
the
that
vision of
can
Sparsh
erase all the
Hospice
past
is
and
to
the
provide
pettiness.
exceptional
A
palliative
reflection of
care
the emptiness,
services
hilarious.
free
You
of
think
cost
you're
to
with my time,
terminally
you're
ill
delirious,
patients
mysterious,
hailing
because
from
you
all
are
the
not the
sections
fake
of the
exterior,
society.
inferior.
It's
You
like
know I'll
towards
always be a
those
bit
bidding
superior.
farewell
Get
to
off
the
of me,
world,
this ain't no
bringing them
humble
a
brag. I
sense
want
of
you to
warm
hear
care
words you
and
can say them
pain-free
back. I
departure.
want you to
And
feel
of a
free
team
from the
that
chains
remains
that
fully
last and
committed to
believe in what you
alleviating
got. It was
the
built to
pain of
last,
every
yeah.
individual for whom cure is no longer an option.
I never got anyone.
So before we get into conversation with Dr. Subrahmanyam, here is Mrs. Sarada, who takes care of all the administrative work at Sparsh Hospice. So let us hear it from her as to what is Sparsh Hospice and what is the process of Sparsh Hospice and what is it all about Sparsh Hospice.
Hi, I'm Sarada Lingaraju. By profession, I'm a psychologist and I work here as a hospice administrator, taking care of the patients and their concerns. When a person is diagnosed with a terminal illness, not only the person but the entire family is also affected. Not just from the physical perspective of the patient, but emotional, social, and spiritually also. So upon getting the disease diagnosed, they will approach different hospitals for curative measures, and once those options are closed, because the disease has progressed in spite of these treatment methods, or it has been diagnosed at a stage where the curative measures will not play any useful part in their lives. So at that moment, the families and the patients are at a crossroad where they don't understand how to cope with a patient living with that sort of a disease. So at that time, Sparsh Hospice, being a palliative care center, steps in and offers a support to these families to handle not only the pain for the patient, but also offer a holistic support system in terms of, as I was mentioning before, the emotional pain will be alleviated, and the social issues will be handled, and even the spiritual distress that the families and the patient undergo because of this disease will be addressed holistically.
Well, Sparsh Hospice, it involves physical, emotional and spiritual care by a team of doctors, nurses, physiotherapists and the spiritual guides. Well, they also offer home care services for all the patients, and let me tell you that all these services are free of cost, and that is what makes Sparsh Hospice one of its kind in the city, to offer all this free palliative care for all the ill patients who are nearer to the death and for whom the treatment of cure is no longer an option.
This is Ratnagaredi from Hyderabad. This is my experience regarding Sparsh Hospice, Kajagoda. This is the best palliative care center in Kajagoda, as well as good hospitality center. My patient is last 15 days in this hospice, Kajagoda. I never feel we are in somewhere else in hospital or in any another ashram. This is very good Sparsh Hospice, Kajagoda. It's like a tech world. We are never feeling we are in a hospital atmosphere. So I suggest you, wherever people are not comfortable last minutes of a patient, happily they can come.
In this episode, we have Dr. Subrahmanyam with us, who is the brains behind Sparsh Hospice, a palliative care center for the ill patients. So let us get into conversation and let us get to know about his journey and why he started Sparsh Hospice. So let us welcome Dr. Subrahmanyam in this episode. Welcome to PMC English, sir.
Thank you.
Firstly, starting with, we want to know a little background of yours.
So I'm a doctor. I studied in Usmania Medical College, and then I did my post-graduation in PGI Chandigarh, which is a All India institute like run by the central government. And after that, I had the opportunity to train further in UK and US. And I came back in 2000. So I'm a practicing anesthesiologist. I am now the head of anesthesia department in Rainbow Hospitals.
Good to know that, sir. So, secondly, sir, that you are the brains behind Sparsh Hospice. So, why did you start up this initiative? Like, when and why did you feel that you need to start something like this?
Yeah, first I want to correct, I am not the brain behind. I might have given the idea, but nothing happens with one person. So we are a big team which made this possible. So the story is linked with our Rotary Club. So I joined Rotary Club of Banjara Hills in the year 2010. That's when the club started. It was a new club. There are about 70 clubs of Rotary in this district. It's called a Rotary district. And my father was an active Rotarian, but he's no more now. When he was alive, I was not part of the Rotary. So later on, some of his friends wanted to start this new club, and they asked me to be part of it. Like me, there were many other members, and Rotary is known for doing social service apart from bonding with each other and establishing networks. So our club members felt we should do something which is long lasting and unique, rather than just give a sewing machine to somebody or a cycle to somebody, which is also some service, but we wanted a longer lasting project which would define our club. And while we were looking at different options, one of the suggestions was, why not look at a hospice? At that point, I must say, nobody in our club nor outside knew what is a hospice. Since I had lived abroad along with a few other members, they had a vague idea. So we knew this is an area which is deficient, but at the same time we were not sure if we could establish the need and pull it off. So a lot of to and fro with other members, and we were fortunate to have one trained palliative care doctor in our club. Her name was Dr. Fanishri, and that gave us more courage to take this forward. And I should say that's how the idea was born.
So, how is Sparsh working now? Like, how many patients are there? How do you work? A full process of Sparsh.
So basically, a hospice is an inpatient facility for end of life patients. So end of life meaning doctors have tried whatever they could, and once they give up on the treatment, they know that there's only a certain amount of time left in that person's life, and that's when the services of a hospice. So at this stage, the patient can be taken care either at home or in an inpatient hospice. So this branch of medicine is called palliative care. And unfortunately, it's a very less known specialty in India. Like after MBBS, I did anesthesia. So like that, you could have done palliative care. So first of all, there are very few centers. There's only 2 centers, All India Institute and Tata Memorial, which run this MD courses, and very limited number of people, and those courses also started very recently. So there very little training, and I think one reason is this is not financially remunerative. For a doctor who practices palliative care, unlike other specialities, the thought of monetary return is less. So that could be one reason why less number of doctors enter that field. So we knew that this is an area which needs to be worked on. So in India, the cancer burden is growing a lot. So we have something like 14 lakhs new cancer patients diagnosed each year in India. And unfortunately, the death rate is very high. We have something like 65-70% patients who are dying of cancer each year. So like 7 or 8 lakhs are dying each year. Now death doesn't happen. It's not like I was living with cancer and tomorrow I'm dead. So you go through a period where you suffer a lot before dying. So that is the period which palliative care addresses. So in Sparsh, we make that suffering less and make sure that the families can connect with the patient. Now, if a patient is all the time suffering, neither is family happy nor is patient happy. So, if you take away that suffering, in the last few weeks of their life, they can bond with their families, spend quality time and leave this world in a peaceful manner. That was the intention behind Sparsh. So, we started first in a rental premises in Banjara Hills. So, we took 2 buildings which belonged to a former IAS officer. We had a lot of challenge in people wanting to let out their premises to us because they knew that patients are going to end up dying there. So, in this facility, we were running operations for nearly 10 years before we came to this new facility in last September. So, in these 10 years, the first 3 years, it was a challenge in building awareness in the public and among doctors. A lot of us went around, meeting other Rotary clubs, other social organizations. We met doctors, explained to them what is a hospice, what we do, and slowly built an awareness. And the press also was very helpful. And we used to call celebrities on different occasions to the premises so that there was some coverage and people would know what is the work we are doing. So, in the last 5-6 years, we built up a critical mass. So, we were full there with the number of beds we were taking care. And then we approached the government of Telangana to give us some land so that we could build a bigger premises and serve more people. And the government has been very kind, especially the Honorable Minister K.T. Ramarao, who had visited Sparsh a couple of times, and he was wholeheartedly supportive. So, this land in a prime area was allotted, and we built this premises of about 60,000 square feet, which can cater to 80 patients. And this was built at a cost of about 14 crore rupees, all of which were raised by philanthropic persons and companies. And since the operation started on 4th September 2021, we shifted all our 10 beds from there, and we are in the process of scaling up. So, before we scale up, we need to train our staff, we need to recruit more staff, train them. So, we are gradually in that process. So, now we are at about 30 beds, and eventually we aim to go to 80 beds. In the next couple of months, probably that will happen. And apart from this, we do home care services. So, not all patients want to come and stay here. Ideally, every patient would want to end their lives in their own homes among their family. So, we also have a service of home care where a team of doctor, nurse, social worker go in a vehicle to their home and give them medical advice, counseling and whatever required medicines. And our home care service is not 24/7 because we cannot provide that, because that service is also free. So, we see a home care patient twice a week. So, the first visit is more exhaustive, after that it is a repeat, and every patient in home care is seen twice a week by our home care teams. And this endeavour is now being supported by SBI Foundation, and who have come forward in a very big way to support home care of Sparsh.
It's a wonderful journey about Sparsh, sir. Moving ahead, running up a big hospice like this, what are the challenges that you usually face?
So, one thing is we wanted right from the setup of the building. If you see, this building is in a little odd shape. It looks very nice, but the thought behind it, a renowned architect, Mr. Sudhir Reddy, designed this building. So, it's in the shape of a comma, and he wanted to signify that this is a pause between life and death. So, it's a comma. So, in this phase of life, we are making that difference between life and death. So, that period where that pause is there is where Sparsh comes in and its services are offered. And it's a very elegantly designed building, and it uplifts the patient when they come in. There's a lot of natural light, and he has provided a facility where all patients can look out of the windows. So, it gives a lot of sense of positivity when you are in a good, instead of a dark dingy room. There's a big difference in a facility like this. And we also have a lot of common areas. We have places where patients' families and patients can come together. there's a physiotherapy room, there's a library. So there's a lot of avenues. Patients should not feel like a patient in this place. They should feel like they're part of a house. That's the aim. So, the natural challenges of operations of any facility exist. So we need administrators, we need finance people, we need the budget to run it, and we have to ensure that it's running in that budget which is allocated. So it is a lot of job because it's a very big facility, and at its full operations the cost is going to be something like 50 lakh rupees a month, because every facility we give at Sparsh is free. So the medicines, the stay, the medical treatment, as well as food. So we give food to the patient, we give food to one attendant of the patient, and we do home care services. So all these together, the approximate costing is this. It seems expensive, but we believe in not just looking at numbers but providing quality. So each patient feels like they are the center of attention. So you need more staff for that, and you need space. So all these have made this a little expensive center, but it's very unique in the kind of care it gives, because the feedback we get from relatives after a patient's demise here is that they were extremely grateful for the services we rendered, and they could really connect with their loved one and make that end peaceful.
So as you said that palliative care is very less known to people. So when you first started this initiative in Hyderabad, so how welcoming was it from the people of Hyderabad, because they were not much aware about this palliative care?
So as I said, we didn't have anything negative, but people didn't know what is a hospice. So as I said, the first 3 years was a challenge in making people aware, and we were, out of our 12 beds which we had, we never had more than 4 or 5 at any given time. So it was a challenge to give awareness to the concept of a hospice, and it's a very well entrenched system in the Western world. Like, it is ubiquitous. Each big city, like if you take America and New York, there may be something like 30 or 40 hospices. Of course, they may not be as big as this, about 10 or 12 beds each, but they'll be in every locality of the city. So India has not reached that level for multiple reasons. One is there is no insurance for palliative care. So all these services are done by philanthropic organizations. Almost everywhere in India where palliative care is being run, it is run by philanthropists or some social service organizations. In the Western world, palliative care is funded by the insurance companies. So a doctor who practices palliative care is paid just like any other specialist. Unfortunately, it has not yet come in India. I am hopeful that one day it will come, and patients receiving palliative care also will be, funded by various organizations. Secondly, there is no palliative care in government hospitals, because again the need was not felt by the public or by the doctors. So with our facility and other similar facilities coming up, slowly the awareness is growing, and government is also making efforts to start palliative care in their government institutions. So I would say there was nothing negative. There was no one criticizing us for what we were doing, because we were not there for any profit motive. We were not charging anything from anybody. So I must add that there's been a lot of support actually, rather than criticism. A lot of people who saw what we were doing were very impressed, and they ended up making large donations, and we have never been actually short of resources, though we can never say that this is enough, because the more funds we get, the more services we can do. We never fell short of resources because of the goodwill in the society, and especially people seeing what we have done, and the consistency of doing this for the last 10 years. People know that we are a genuine organization.
So lastly, winding up this episode, I want you to give a strong message to all the audience watching this episode, sir.
So one thing I would like to say, unconnected with Sparsh, is all of us who have been successful in our lives should learn to give back to the society. We are what we are because of our society. I could study in Subrahmanyam Medical College with, I think my fees was something like 1,000 rupees a year when I studied. Of course, it was 1980. But at that same time, people were paying lakhs of rupees in a private medical college. So we should feel indebted to our society for giving us the opportunity to become what we have become. So it could be a doctor, it could be a lawyer, it could be a businessman. Once you have a reasonable amount of income or comfort in your life, you should think of the underprivileged and learn to give back to the society in whatever form. So this giving back can be in any form, and we have chosen to do this in the form of Sparsh. And the second message is that people should come forward. If you can't directly do this kind of work, support others who are doing this work, spread the message, and support organizations which are helping others in this society. That would be my strong message. And regarding palliative care in particular, I think more people should utilize the services rather than feel that because there is some impression among people that if we send their loved one to Sparsh, it's like they're abandoning them because it's a free service. But I want to reiterate that though it is free, the quality of care we give here is better than a corporate hospital.
So that was a strong message, sir. Thank you so much for joining in this episode.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So we were in conversation with Dr. Subrahmanyam, who is the brains behind Sparsh Hospice. So I hope that an initiative like this for the people who are in their last moments of life would make a little difference in your life, so that you can also come forward, you can also take a step further to help such people around with such initiatives. So with this is Ayushi Farasi signing off. Stay tuned to PMC English for more updates.